When we think of world leaders, we often picture long conference tables, diplomatic handshakes, and decisions that shift the fate of nations. But behind those powerful doors, sometimes, there's the quiet scratch of paws at the floor, a soft purr in the corner, or a tail wagging eagerly near the fireplace. In a world where pressure never sleeps and spotlights never dim, pets become something more than just companions. They are breaths of humanity, silent moments of tenderness, and perhaps the most honest reflection of the person who leads a country. This story is not simply about dogs or cats. It's a gentle look into how the most powerful people in the world are softened by creatures who ask for nothing but love. Somehow, the presence of animals beside national leaders makes them more human, more approachable. And often, it's the unscripted moments with pets that leave the most lasting impression. A French president who laughs off his dog peeing during a press conference. An American president boarding Air Force One with his dog like a tradition. A Russian leader using dogs as quiet diplomatic signals. And in the UK, a cat named Larry who's outlasted multiple prime ministers. They may not understand politics, but they are there, steadily, loyally, reminding us that even those at the top need affection that's simple and sincere. Some pets become more than just sidekicks. They turn into symbols of eras, policies, or even national identity. In the US, first dogs and first cats are household names, often with their own fan bases. In Russia, presidential dogs appear in official meetings. In the UK, the government cat holds an official title and even unofficial public support. These animals aren't elected, yet they're part of history. They don't give speeches, yet they speak volumes. This series isn't a list. It's a journey through homes of presidents and prime ministers, through rescue shelters and state banquets, through barks and purrs and silent loyalty. We'll visit the White House, where rescued dogs make history. Kremlin, where dogs sit beneath the chairs of power. Élysée Palace, where a mutt from a shelter became a national symbol. 10 Downing Street, home of a cat with more political longevity than any PM. Beijing, where privacy veils even the softest affections. And Berlin, where a quiet woman and her dachshund walked through history, one careful step at a time. Politics is full of noise, but animals don't care about titles. They don't judge by power. They know only love, routine, and trust. And in a world that's constantly negotiating and navigating, perhaps a wagging tail is what leaders need most. Throughout American history, the White House has never been a place just for politicians, policies, or handshakes. It's also been home to the softest of companions, those with 4 legs, wet noses, and unconditional loyalty. Regardless of who holds office, the tradition of keeping pets at the White House, especially dogs and cats, has become part of the American presidential legacy. From George Washington, the first U.S. president, to those of modern times, animals have walked the halls of the White House for centuries. Fala, the Scottish Terrier of Franklin D. Roosevelt, became so iconic that he now has a statue alongside his owner in Washington, D.C. Bo and Sunny, the Portuguese water dogs of the Obama family, were known as the best friends of the first daughters. And more recently, during the time of former President Joe Biden, 3 German Shepherds, Champ, Major, and Commander, carried the torch of the first dogs into a new era. Even when political winds shift, one thing remains constant. The enduring presence of animals brings comfort to both the president and the people. Major, the first rescue dog to live in the White House. When Joe Biden took office as the 46th President of the United States, he didn't just bring policy experience. He brought 2 loyal friends, Champ, who had been with the family since his vice presidential days, and Major, adopted from a Delaware rescue shelter. Major made history as the first rescue dog ever to live in the White House, a powerful symbol of compassion and second chances. His journey wasn't without bumps. Major was involved in a couple of incidents with staff and security, prompting a temporary relocation for behavioral training. But instead of hiding it, President Biden addressed it honestly. He just needs time to adjust. Like all of us, he's getting used to a new environment. It wasn't just a response. It was a reminder that even in the nation's highest office, patience and empathy still matter. Ew, the first cat with a hometown name. In addition to their dogs, the Bidens welcomed a soft, gray, short-haired cat named Willow into the White House. Her name comes from Willow Grove, the First Lady Jill Biden's hometown. Willow wasn't a media sensation. She didn't roam the press room or appear at press conferences. She simply existed, curled up in a sunlit window, walking the halls with silent elegance, or napping beside a fireplace. Her quiet presence reminded everyone that even in a house that never sleeps, there are still corners of peace. In America, pets often play an unspoken role in shaping a president's public image. A playful dog or a rescued cat can say what no press secretary can: "I'm human. I care." Presidents use official portraits, televised interviews, and social media to connect with the people. But nothing breaks the wall quite like seeing a world leader scratch behind a dog's ears or laugh at a tail-wagging greeting. Even the Presidential Pet Museum documents the pets of every U.S. president, complete with stories, photos, and memorabilia. It's proof that Americans don't just follow politics, they follow the paws that walk beside it. Interestingly, President Donald Trump, the current leader of the United States, is one of the few presidents who did not have a pet during his time at the White House. When asked, he answered candidly, "I like animals, but I just don't have the time. It wouldn't be fair to the dog." It was an honest statement, not crafted for PR, just a reflection of his personal view. Still, for many Americans, the memory of pets in the White House remains a symbol of warmth. Whether it's Bo and Sunny chasing butterflies, or Fala sitting beside Roosevelt during wartime, these animals became part of the nation's story. The White House has seen treaties signed, wars ended, and speeches that moved nations. But through all that, behind the scenes, there have always been the soft padding of paws, the faint sound of claws on marble, and the loyal eyes waiting at the end of a long hallway. The pets of America's presidents aren't just companions. They're tiny, beating hearts inside the big machine of power. And perhaps they are the truest reminders of who we are when the cameras turn off. Putin's dogs, loyalty beneath the Kremlin's silence, in the vast land of Russia, where snow stretches across cities for half the year, and press conferences often echo with formality, one wouldn't expect power to be softened by a gentle tail wag. Yet, for over 2 decades, President Vladimir Putin has been frequently seen in the company of dogs. Not by accident, and not purely for symbolism either. From media coverage to official meetings, Putin's dogs have often appeared as silent companions. But for those who observe closely, they've been more than that. They've become part of a narrative, a quiet reflection of loyalty, guardianship, and sometimes unspoken strength. In his early presidential years, Putin was often accompanied by Connie, a black Labrador retriever with calm eyes and quiet presence. Connie wasn't just a pet. She traveled with him, sat in on meetings, and even flew aboard government aircraft. For many Russians, Connie became a familiar figure, the silent shadow beside the country's most powerful man. She didn't bark during interviews. She didn't chase reporters. She simply stayed. And when she passed away in 2014, observers noted one of the rare moments Putin seemed truly moved, silent, and still for longer than usual. Putin was also gifted a beautiful Akita Inu named Yumi by the Japanese government, an act of gratitude for Russia's support after the devastating 2011 earthquake. Yumi, like most Akitas, was loyal but fiercely protective. In one incident, she barked loudly and startled a group of visiting Japanese reporters. Putin didn't scold her. He smiled gently and said, "Don't worry, she's just doing her job." It was a moment that said more than words ever could. Yum wasn't just a gift. She was a living bridge between two cultures, and a reminder that even the coldest diplomacy can be warmed by a heartbeat. Another dog, Buffy, was gifted to Putin by the Prime Minister of Bulgaria in 2010, A fluffy Karakachan breed with a calm demeanor, Buffy became a familiar figure in occasional Kremlin videos. While less seen in public, Buffy represented something equally powerful, a softer image of the Russian leader. Walking through snow, sitting quietly by the fireplace, or lying near Putin's chair, Buffy reminded the world that even strength has a quiet side. Unlike other leaders, whose pets roam freely, the appearance of Putin's dogs is almost always intentional. Each time one shows up, especially during official events, it's read as a message. One of the most famous examples occurred in 2007, during a meeting with former German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Knowing she had a fear of dogs from a childhood experience, Putin allowed Connie to enter the room and sit near her feet. Merkel remained composed, but her discomfort was visible. Later, she calmly remarked to the press, "I understand what he was trying to do, to prove he's strong and knows I'm afraid." Whether intentional or not, that moment became part of global diplomatic lore. And Connie, without making a sound, became a symbol of power politics. From Connie to Yume, from Buffy to lesser-known companions, the dogs around Putin do more than guard. They reflect. They reflect a man who prefers silence over sound bites, stillness over flash. But within that, they also show a side of him that few speeches can convey. A connection to loyalty, the comfort of routine, and the presence of something unshakably devoted. When once asked if he liked cats, Putin replied plainly, "I don't understand cats." Short, precise, and unmistakably Putin. Putin's dogs may not be household names. They don't have social media. They rarely make front pages. But they've stood quietly, day after day, beside a man who leads with calculated strength. And perhaps, in the silence of snowy Kremlin mornings, that's all he ever needed. A pair of eyes that never question, and a loyalty that never wavers. Larry the Cat, the political veteran of Downing Street. In the solemn, stone-cold world of British politics, where every step outside 10 Downing Street becomes a headline, there lives a resident who's never been elected, never campaigned, yet somehow has outlasted every prime minister since 2011. His name is Larry. Official title, Chief Mouser to the Cabinet Office. But ask any Brit, and they'll tell you. Larry is not just a cat. Number 10 is the official residence and office of the British Prime Minister, one of the most recognized political addresses in the world. Behind its iconic black door, leaders come and go. Policies rise and fall. Power shifts hands. And yet, somewhere on the steps, beneath the windows, or stretched out in the sun, you'll almost always find Larry. Unbothered, unmoved. He arrived in 2011. Lennon, during Prime Minister David Cameron's term, adopted from the Battersea Animal Shelter as a response to a growing mouse problem. No one could have predicted he'd become one of the most enduring public figures in modern British politics. Prime ministers come and go, but Larry stays. Since his arrival, Larry has seen David Cameron, Theresa May, Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, and now Rishi Sunak come through number 10. None of them own him. Larry doesn't belong to any government or political party. He belongs to the House. David Cameron once joked in Parliament, "I don't own Larry. Larry lives there." And I suspect, when I leave, he'll still be there. He was right. Larry has watched Brexit unfold, leadership crises erupt, and national debates rage on, all from his spot by the radiator or his perch on the windowsill. Unlike many government officials, Larry isn't afraid of the press. In fact, he has his own fan base, and even a popular Twitter account with hundreds of thousands of followers, run by a witty anonymous fan. His tweets are a mix of dry humor and feline sarcasm. New Prime Minister? Same old food schedule. Still waiting for someone to explain Brexit to me. In a nation that appreciates satire and stoicism, Larry has become more than a cat. He's a cultural icon. Larry is now well over 15, a senior in cat years. Yet he still roams the garden, strolls through press briefings, and sometimes photobombs official portraits. When asked if he still catches mice, one security guard chuckled, Not really, but the mice know he's here. That's enough. He's become a living symbol of continuity, a presence so familiar, so consistent, that even amidst chaos, he reminds the public, some things still stay the same. Larry is not an appointee. He doesn't serve at the pleasure of the Prime Minister. He can't be voted out, and that's exactly why people trust him. In times of political instability, British media often leads with a Larry photo. New PM moves in, Larry unimpressed. Larry leaves meeting early, sources say he's still undecided. It's tongue-in-cheek, but also deeply British. Larry doesn't give speeches, he doesn't shake hands, he doesn't sign treaties, but he watches, he listens, and he stays. Perhaps that's why the people love him, not for what he does, but for what he reminds them of. That in a country where power changes fast and tempers run high, it's okay to pause, stretch, and nap in the sun. And maybe, just maybe, that's the most political thing a cat can do. China's quiet affection, hidden behind state protocol. In a nation where every photo is measured, every word is calculated, and every appearance is choreographed, it's no surprise that the subject of pets, especially those of national leaders, remains a quiet mystery. China, with its rising global presence and deeply guarded political image, treats the personal lives of its leaders with extreme discretion. Unlike in the West, where dogs or cats of presidents are often in the spotlight, the same cannot be said about the Chinese leadership. There are no viral videos, no photo ops with furry companions, and no mentions of animal affection in official biographies. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. There are no official reports of President Xi Jinping owning pets. No images of dogs following him through gardens or cats curled up on his desk. But whether by personal choice or state media policy, this absence speaks volumes, not of disinterest, but of a different cultural approach to leadership. In China, leaders are often expected to be symbols of strength, focus, and national discipline. A pet, though loved, may not align with the stoic public image long associated with Chinese leadership. If there's a softer glimpse into the private lives of China's leaders, it comes through First Lady Peng Liyuan. A renowned soprano and humanitarian, she has, on rare occasions, shown signs of a nurturing affection for animals, especially during visits to children's centers or rural communities. Reports, though never official, suggest she once received a cat as a gift during an overseas trip and may be fond of them in private. But as with most personal details in Chinese politics, these stories fade quickly into silence. Still, the impression remains. Compassion exists, even when it's not broadcasted. Unlike Western leaders, who often use pets to humanize their image, Chinese culture traditionally values emotional restraint, especially in public life. There is an old Confucian ideal. The nobleman keeps his emotions hidden. This doesn't mean feelings are absent. It means they are considered sacred, personal, and not meant for political display. So when Chinese leaders don't pose with pets, it's not because they lack warmth. It's because in their tradition, what's most genuine is often kept closest to the heart. Will we one day see a Chinese leader walking a dog through Zhongnanhai or playing with a kitten on national TV? Perhaps not soon. But if it ever happens, it will carry more weight than 100 speeches. In a system where image is everything, the appearance of an animal could quietly say, "We too feel, we too love, we simply show it differently." Chancellor Merkel, loyalty in silence. When it comes to quiet strength and leadership, few figures embody it more than former German Chancellor Angela Merkel. She led Germany through nearly 2 decades of political turbulence with calm authority. And while her public image was carefully composed, those close to her knew she loved dogs. Deeply. Unlike other leaders who posed with pets or brought them into the spotlight, Merkel never made her dogs a media feature. But those in her inner circle recall quiet walks, tender gestures, and the way her eyes softened when she spoke of them. She had a particular fondness for Dachshunds, the classic German sausage dog, clever, stubborn, and fiercely loyal. Just like her, Merkel didn't need to prove she had a heart. She didn't share Instagram pictures of puppies or attend animal shelters with the press. But in rare interviews, when asked what gave her comfort after long days, she'd sometimes mention a warm tea and the sound of paws on the floor. Her connection with her dogs was quiet, but strong. Miracle's relationship with dogs once became part of international headlines, not by choice, but by circumstance. In a 2007 meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin, he allowed his dog Koni to enter the room, knowing full well Merkel had a long-standing fear of dogs. Merkel didn't flinch. She didn't complain. Later, she simply said, "I understand what he was trying to do, but the dog did nothing wrong." Grace under pressure, compassion even when challenged. That was Merkel. That was Germany. When Merkel stepped down in 2021, there was no parade, no emotional speech. Only a photo of her walking slowly across the grass with an old dog by her side, both figures fading gently into the background. It was the perfect metaphor, a leader and her quiet companion, leaving without drama, but never forgotten. When pets become soft power in global diplomacy, sometimes a handshake is just a formality. Sometimes a gifted puppy says far more. Across the world, pets have emerged as one of the softest tools in global diplomacy, gifts that transcend language, borders, and political tension. A loyal Akita Inu named Yume, gifted to Vladimir Putin by Japan as a thank you after the 2011 earthquake. A Karakachin shepherd named Buffy, given to Putin by Bulgaria as a gesture of peace and goodwill. These animals were not just gifts. They were living connections, signs of trust, and hope for friendship. In high-stakes meetings, where nerves run high and language barriers loom, sometimes the best icebreaker is a wagging tail. There are stories of world leaders showing off pet photos on their phones, letting conversations flow not through strategy, but through shared smiles. No interpreter needed. These pets may not have titles, but they leave impressions. People may forget policy announcements, but they remember Macron's dog Nemo peeing during a press event, Larry the cat photobombing a minister's speech, Bo and Sunny racing across the White House lawn. Pets don't speak, but they're heard. They don't vote, but they remind leaders what it means to be human. Sometimes the softest bark carries the strongest message. In the end, the world is led by humans, and humans, no matter how powerful, need tenderness. Presidents sign treaties, prime ministers declare policies. But in the quiet, between headlines and history, there are moments. A dog resting at their feet, a cat curled on their lap, a tail wagging behind the red curtain. Pets don't campaign. They don't care about approval ratings, but they sit beside the tired. They wait for the overwhelmed. And they love, without needing to be loved back. Maybe a dog can't change the world, but it can change the person who leads it, and sometimes that's enough. The end.